Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Jud Grubbs here. I'm a writer-director from Los Angeles, and I am sat with the one and only Nic Sadler, who is a DP, cinematographer. You're a technology genius. You're
I wouldn't say that.
Oh no, I'm going to say that. And but for our purposes today, you are the cinematographer of Coherence, the one and only, which is legit one of my favorite films, and arguably one of the best indie sci-fi films of all time.
Wow.
No, it's a big claim.
That's an intro.
But I tell you, I've played that film for quite a few people now, and everybody agrees with me. It's very impressive. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much.
We go way back.
We
now.
do. Like middle of last week.
Yeah, exactly. And you were kind enough to come to my film salon at my house, where we pick a movie, and it's a bunch of working film professionals, and then we watch it and we sit around and talk about it. And this is kind of how this whole thing got started. I decided I wanted to bring the Salon online and bring it to Instagram, and my first movie choice was Coherence, and then you popped into my DMs, so
There we are.
yeah, here we are.
Via Ilya Friedman from Hot Rod Camera.
That's right.
He dropped me a line saying, "Hey, these guys are looking at Coherence."
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, so again, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Very excited to hear about Coherence. It's a very unusual film.
It's a very unusual story.
Yes, and that's what I want to hear. I want to hear all about it. So, I've got a million questions, but I think I'd like to. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with that?
Involved with the project.
Yeah, but you can give us a little background on yourself. I'd like to hear.
Okay, well, I'd moved to LA back in 2005, 2006, and I was doing the kind of work that I did in the UK. Because I lived there for 20 years, which is commercial work essentially, and I wanted to branch out of the commercials I was doing into long form. I was doing concert films and a lot of big live TV stuff. Not live to air, but like the Victoria's Secret fashion show, for example. I was working on that. I did a swim special for them as well. I was doing concert films, doing a wide variety of things, but I wanted to get more into drama. I had some success with some short films in the UK. I came to the States, and I got a low-budget indie feature immediately. And that kind of kicked the kind of everything kind of rolling in the right direction.
Lovely.
I got introduced to Jim through a friend of mine. He was looking for a DP to come in and shoot essentially a DVD extra for Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, wow.
And they had a lot of money to do this, but the real reason why we were there doing this thing was really nothing to do with the short film, I don't think. I think there was other stuff going on, like there was a desire to have the Black Pearl set lit up again for a party or for something else, and so there was a bunch of ancillary reasons why we were there.
Okay.
But we had a reasonable budget, a lot more money than you would expect on something which is a short. We had a lot of people in it. There was a lot of extras. I met a couple of great friends from that. Lauren Mayo, who is was one of the actresses in Pirates of the Caribbean. She plays one of Jack Sparrow's wives. She was in Coherence, and I think that's part of the connection that I had through to Jim was through Lauren.
Got it.
But yeah, the whole experiment of me being involved in this project was. It started with this very, very overblown period drama short film.
So fun.
For a lot of money, and then Jim came to me and said, "Hey, I want to do this other project," and we started discussing that.
Oh, great. Okay. Oh, wow. Large budget short film is not something that most people get the chance to do.
No, but I think that's kind of my career as a cinematographer was. It's been typical for me to be involved in projects which have that kind of weird edge to them. Like I've done a lot of strange projects. I used to work in the commercial world. I used to work a lot in the Middle East. I used to do a lot of work for the in Egypt and in Dubai. And I when I was doing commercials, I was traveling all the way around the world. So I saw a lot of very unusual kinds of shoots.
I bet. Okay. Well, cool. So I'd say with Coherence then. Let's dive into what was the discussion like before cameras started rolling? What did the pre-production and the prep look like for you as a cinematographer?
Extremely limited.
Okay.
I mean, it's explicit that we didn't have a lot of money to spend.
Okay.
And it was, we're talking like the tens of thousands.
Right.
We're not talking much more than that.
Wow.
And so my interests when it comes to that level of production fall into, okay, this is a problem-solving exercise, which all filmmaking is.
Right.
But when you've got limited resources, you have to throw out of the window all of the methodologies that you would normally apply to a job that you don't quite care as much about. Like if someone says to me, hey, we're doing this TV commercial, and I've got a package in my brain, a camera package and a lighting package in my brain already, because I know roughly the shape of it. And it's easy for me to fall back on those ideas and just pump it out. Like I'm going to turn up with a group of people I know, with a bunch of equipment I know, and I'm going to make it work, and it's going to be fine. Right. An interior package, an exterior package. As your resources become more dilute, you have to become a little bit more flexible in how you think. Well, that's at least how I go about it.
Makes sense.
One of my prejudices about the whole craft of cinematography is a lot of cinematographers become extremely lazy in their approaches to things, and they have a rote way of working that works for them, which probably does really well for them in their career. It's something I think is a luxury that you can afford as you kind of go up the list.
Makes sense.
There's a lot of famous stories about DPs. There's one about Wendy Watkins, for example, who did Lawrence of Arabia. And his equipment list included a baby grand piano in his room and these huge lights.
Must be nice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because like he wanted to use these huge lights and have a piano to play at night.
Well,
that was his.
That's how he got his best work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be able to do something like that on a film of this kind of budget.
No, definitely not. No. Definitely not. I mean, with a budget like that to cover everything, you must have been limited on equipment. So
it's for me the issue with how to allocate resources in any project is looking at what is needed.
Okay.
And that can only come after a conversation with the director. One of the things I find most disturbing about modern filmmaking, and particularly the cinematographer inside that, is the modern cinematographer goes into a meeting and is expected to provide a deck. A description of what they want to do.
Right.
All right.
Right.
I couldn't care less about that. What I care about is I want to sit with the director and find out what it is in the story that they need help with from a visual perspective.
Right.
And then build my ideas around what the director's looking for. And when we're shooting, that will adapt into how the performances are and how everything is running. My visual contribution is secondary to that. So I find this the kind of the current way of working where producers and directors will get lots of DPs in and they all provide a deck and they're mining the deck for ideas and then they'll pick someone out of that group or maybe use their best friend.
Right. Yeah.
And it continues on. Where my approach is to go in and treat it like a completely blank piece of paper. I am here because you think I can solve your problems.
Right.
I'm not here because I'm going to provide you with a visual aesthetic that you can pick and choose. I'm not the Walmart of cinematography.
Right. No. Well, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
I mean, I agree. I think that's something that I wouldn't even want a DP coming into a meeting with sort of preconceived ideas. I'd want to sit down and discuss it and figure out what the story needs.
Yeah.
And I think there's I remember very early on in my career listening to Sir Roger Deakins talk about the sort of trick with cinematography is that it's easy to make things look pretty, and there's always, yes, you want things to look good, but that's not the focus of any sort of photographing a film. You have to have it serve the story emotionally, and that should be your focus, and that really truly good cinematography completely melts away. And you don't even realize it. You're watching, you're engaged in the story, and then you can go back in your second, third viewing and say, "Oh wow, I didn't even realize that this was happening with the camera," and really, getting an emotional effect. But to me, really good cinematography means that you're not noticing these, very crazy shots or whatnot. It just has to all serve the story.
I agree with that approach completely. I mean, one of the most important things for me is the baseline of mundane. Like when you go into a project, you have to say, okay, well, when you're shooting a drama, it usually is revealed to you what the predominant lens is going to be.
Right.
With the Coen brothers, it's like the 27 or the 32. They would settle on something.
Yeah.
And by having a baseline of a field of view and a camera height and a consistency that the audience is expecting to see things, now you've got a place to deviate from. So if I'm saying, okay, normal, oh my God, he needs to look at her and see how attractive she is. So I'm going to go back on a little bit on a longer lens to concentrate my field of view on that person, throw the background out of focus, and that'll look more cosmetic. And that punch, visually and in the story, is more apparent if you've got the baseline you've established before. If you're constantly changing focal length and people's faces are constantly changing, your audience, who is incredibly sophisticated, and we should never confuse a lack of sophistication with a lack of ability to articulate. Like, you know, we are filmmakers,
Very well said.
right?
Yeah.
We are like, if you go to a restaurant and have a shit meal, right, and you're sitting opposite a chef, they will break it down and tell you why it's shit, and you think, oh, it's rubbish.
Right.
And a punter, when they're watching a movie, if the film is shit, they're going to think it's shit.
Yep.
But they won't be able to break it down. We break it down.
Exactly.
So there's the audience is very sophisticated in their taste, but not doesn't have the ability to articulate, and it's really silly to assume that they don't have this level of sophistication. So you have to be in control of the audience's emotional response the whole time by understanding that the difference between good cinematography and bad cinematography is good-looking pictures. Good cinematography is pictures that advance the narrative.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it's photography, and you're only doing 1/8 of the job.
Absolutely. I love that. And so with Coherence, I'm trying to bring it back to that because I could talk about cinematography all day. So very little prep. Was the script there? Was the script finished? Did you have a script? Because I feel like I've heard Jim sort of say that they kind of had a script, but there was a lot of improv done.
There was kind of speeches and a narrative line, and it was quite open. And I think he workshopped with the actors quite a bit. I wasn't privy to that part of it, but he'd workshopped it quite a bit from memory. It was a long time ago. It's almost 10 years ago now. But there were very kind of locked speeches and approaches and little kind of moments that needed to be reacted to. Like someone walks in the door, there's an exclamation, everyone reacts. That's the pivot, and everyone's working to that. And inside of that, there's a lot of overlap of dialogue. There's a lot of overlap of action. And then when I was looking at this, I was thinking, okay, well, it's kind of it's a bit like a play. But we've got a number of choices about how we can, with which direction we can go. So the first question that came up for me was how many cameras? That's almost always the first question I have.
Okay.
It's like, in order to make this work, how many cameras do we need to make it work? Are we single camera, in which case your choices are going in one direction?
Right.
If it's multiple camera, you're thinking differently straight away.
Absolutely.
And this was multiple cameras. This is 3 or 4 cameras at the same time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And there was lots of we're basically shooting through the whole movie in like one go. And then repeating it.
Wow, okay.
So it was linear, and we didn't break it down. It was shot like a play.
Oh, interesting. So how many days were you in production?
With 3 days of shooting.
3.
Principal cinematography, and then after that there were days when they went and did some pickups on some things.
Wow.
Which I think was that was part of the discussion beforehand. I said, look, if we get the structure of this working, and you got an edit that works, the holes are going to be apparent. And I spent a long time in my career shooting second unit for people. And second unit is like, for a cinematographer, is one of the best jobs. It's how Greg Tolan got to meet Orson Welles. Oh. Because Greg Tolan did these incredible insert shots for someone else's film as a second unit DP.
Oh,
and Orson Welles saw them and went, wow, this guy's got an eye.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're really beautiful. They're like films like Memoirs of a Geisha, for example.
Of course.
Everything that you saw in the sizzle reel that was shown at the operas was done by the second unit guy.
Amazing.
But the DP who got the award didn't shoot any of the stuff in the sizzle reel.
And a lot of those inserts, when you're in second unit, you also don't have a lot of oversight, right? So you have a little bit more freedom to to really make it your own.
Well, it depends. Like the way in which I approach second unit is I go and see the editor and say, show me the holes. And they've got hundreds of them, like insert shots that they need. They've got reverses they don't have. They've got up and past stuff they don't have. They've got shots of Speedos, watches, notebooks, pens, all of this stuff.
Sure.
And you've got time to think about it. All right. So you might have to go and do a sunrise shot somewhere. All right. So you're waiting for the sun to come up. You've got a car coming down the road. You're waiting and waiting. It's you and one other person. But so while you're there, you're also shooting some other stuff.
Right.
Because you're waiting.
Yeah.
So you just have a little box of things. So you've got my watch, and I look and put my watch on and do a few shots of the watch, and we're waiting for the sun to come up.
Right.
There's all this kinds of stuff that you can do as a second unit DP. And when the editor gets this stuff, they're like, oh, it's like amazing.
Oh, thank God.
I've got all this stuff.
Right.
And when it goes in, the director sees it and goes, oh, wow, it's fantastic. Like, it's fleshing it out.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
you can, as a second unit director, a second unit DP, I got to be familiar with these little techniques that I knew that would make the life of the people that I was working for easier, and the DP and the DP to a lesser extent, because they were so absorbed in the first unit.
Right.
I didn't bother them too much unless I was doing supplementary stuff like maybe a second camera or something on that main unit. Otherwise, I would just chip away at stuff that was useful.
Right.
And sometimes I'd shoot a little insert 3 times to get the one that really worked, so you had time to do it.
Amazing. So let me ask you, actually, because a lot of this is with the focus of the indie filmmakers out there. So, a lot of those shots, those inserts that you're getting, are those things specifically that are in the script, or just things that you're starting, and through experience you realize these are featured things that you're seeing on the actors or in the area, and you're just like, let me pick these things up.
At that point, the script's almost irrelevant.
Okay.
You've gone past that point, and the editor has turned the script into a narrative.
Got it.
And the narrative has holes.
Got it.
So
Okay.
if it's not in the script, it doesn't matter. The editor has got something that says, I need this to fill that hole.
Got
It's
it.
not in the script, but I need it.
Okay.
Because I'm cutting between 2 wide shots. So I need an insert, a close-up or something to make this live.
Okay, that totally makes sense. I was just trying to think of it from an indie filmmaker's standpoint. If you're shooting something, that maybe those are things to keep in mind when you're on set, to find these things that you might be able to use later in the edit. It's hard without having the edit, but a lot of people who are shooting indie aren't going to have the ability to even go back and do a lot of inserts. Maybe they can't, but maybe they've rented a camera package and can't get it again, or whatever. So I'm trying to think of, maybe there's something there that we keep in mind looking around set as you're going, like, hey, let's get an insert of that,
That'd be one of my decisions as an indie filmmaker.
Yeah.
Like, if you, because your DP has convinced you to use a camera with a certain kind of anamorphic lens that you have a limited time with, and you can't get that again to go and do inserts, I would move away from that decision. Because the impact that a readily available camera will have on your ability to tell the story, because you can go and reshoot stuff if necessary, is more important to the story. Now, if you've got a lot of money, and it doesn't matter what camera you shoot with anything you like.
Right.
It doesn't matter. If you've got limited resources, you have to think about where the story is going to go and what pitfalls you're going to have. And as a cinematographer, and I say this not to demean cinematographers, but I see this a lot with cinematographers where they make choices that put directors into holes that they're not going to get out of in certain situations. And I would recommend as a DP not to do that. No one's going to be interested in your movie if it looks great but fails.
Right.
They're going to be interested in your movie if it works and it doesn't look fantastic. Coherence doesn't look fantastic.
Right.
It looks okay. I've only seen it once. I can't bear to look at anything I've ever done.
Right. No, I understand that.
But it is when I'm working on something and grading something, when it's over, I hope to God that I won't see it again for a long time, because all I see is things I want to change.
Sure.
But your position as a cinematographer should be to advise the director to execute the project with a certain amount of equipment and expertise in service of the story. And if you absolutely need to go back and shoot more material as inserts at a later date, own the camera. Go and buy one. Afterwards, after the project's over, sell it. Sell the whole lot. By the time, if you're going to shoot a project, you can buy a camera on a credit card on the right date, have it for almost 2 months, and at the end, sell it and pay your credit card debt off.
That is fantastic advice, actually. Yeah.
So that to me is part of the job of the cinematographer. Is say, hey, look, I know this is crazy, but this is a solution.
Yeah.
And we should consider it. And one of the problems I've had in my career as a cinematographer is I am not a linear thinker. I'm a very, I take a very rational approach to stuff, and I tread on people's toes as a consequence. A lot of directors will say to me, "Hey, that's outside of your remit," and I'm like, I don't think it is. I'm advising you about processes with regards to the photography that are going to, I think, will benefit you. Yeah. I am happier to give up camera equipment and lenses and give it to the art department or the sound department if their deficiencies will make the chances of our failure higher.
Absolutely.
And I got no issue about that at all. Whereas, one of the things I strongly advise that cinematographers don't do is entertain cinematography fetishism. And there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, there's a lot of bro mentality within cinematography with regards to, oh my God, I only ever shoot widescreen and anamorphic.
Right.
As soon as I hear that, it makes me feel how I feel about Christopher Nolan, which is I don't want to see another Christopher Nolan movie.
No, I understand that. That's really interesting. And I think that's super valuable for all of us out there. I was going to touch on this at the end, but I think there's especially now, I think with the proliferation of YouTube and people doing these channels talking about, filmmaking equipment, that everybody's so excited about which camera I should get, which lens I should get, and very focused on the gear instead of what we talked about before, which is focusing on the story and what the story needs. But I love this idea that if you've rented something, and I've done this on a short before where I got vintage glass just because I was shooting sort of like a spy thing and I wanted that feel, and then I couldn't get that lens again for something I wanted to do a reshoot. And I was like, wow, I've kind of screwed this up. Making sure that you have the ability to go back after, because you're right. Once you get in that editing room, you realize no matter, and I'm the writer too, so I'm already shooting this movie as I'm writing it, and then I shoot it actually, and I feel like, I'll have everything, and then you start piecing it together. You're like, oops, So I think that's really critical advice.
It's a common problem. I think if you're going for a meeting with the director for the first time, and the question comes up, hey, what kind of cameras and lenses are you going to shoot with? If you own a camera, that's what you recommend,
right?
Because in that instance, you adopt the analogy that to a hammer, everything's a nail.
Right.
Your camera and your lenses are the appropriate tools for every single job you're doing because you want to make money,
right?
Which is fine. It's disingenuous, but it's fine,
right.
And I appreciate it. You want to make money, there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. You're going to promote your gear. You're going to go that. I don't own any equipment. I've never have. I've never owned. I own lenses that I pulled apart. That's about it.
Okay.
When you go into a meeting and someone asks you what kind of cameras and lenses you want, don't answer it. Because all that can happen is you expose yourself to prejudice. If you say, hey, I really want to shoot an Alexa 35, and the director owns a Red, you're not going to get the job.
Right, exactly.
Right? I would say, look, it's too early for me to answer that question, but can I ask you some questions? And they'll say, I said, how many cameras do you need?
Yeah.
Because that's going to really affect what kind of cameras we can have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And if we are going to adopt a certain approaches photographically that are more lighting heavy than camera heavy, the choice of lights to me is far more important. The choice of locations is more important. The choice of time of day is more important. I can make any camera look okay. From an iPhone through a 65mm camera, I could do a relatively good job with anything put in front of me because I'm a cinematographer.
Right.
And I've shot with virtually every camera ever made.
Wow.
So it's not as if I can't control the medium. That's part of my job as the cinematographer. It's not my intention. My intention is to tell the story that the director is trying to tell as an accomplice to that. That's my objective.
Got it.
And outside of that, the equipment means nothing at all.
Amazing. Okay. Well, again, really good advice. And so I'll try to keep us back to coherence. you were shooting in an actual house.
Yeah, in Jim's house.
In Jim's house, pretty tight space.
Yeah.
And yet, so I watched the movie again last night.
Did you?
I did, yeah, because I wanted to be ready for today, and I hadn't seen it for, well, I guess it's been about 6 months, so a little bit more recent than you. Still fantastic, but this time, first time watching it, purely thinking, okay, cinematography, what did Nic do here? I do think it actually looks really good, and I think it looks like exactly what the story needed, which is you feel as the audience that you are one of the extra friends at this gathering, at this dinner party, as all this stuff is going on.
It's very nice of you to say this, by the way.
Oh no,
I feel very flattered.
Yeah, it's very true. I think it looks amazing, and I love the warm light that you had, and it's full of practicals.
There's a reason for that.
Okay.
It became very apparent early on that we just couldn't afford sophisticated cameras. But so I was looking at budget cameras, and at the time, the camera that appealed to me the most for that kind of work was the 5D.
Okay.
They were freely available. They weren't expensive. I could borrow them from people. Pretty much every young filmmaker had a 5D or something similar.
Right.
I then limited the choices of lenses to try and keep the lens palette as limited as possible. That didn't really work in the end in the end game. I would have liked to have stayed on primes the entire time. I think Jim liked having the zoom, but I would have resisted that. But again, it doesn't matter. What a film is not what you planned it to be.
Right.
A film is what people see.
Right.
Okay. So they were my intentions.
Okay.
But one of the things that that I wanted to resist is where I think low budget films come apart, particularly in the idea that, hey, we're going to shoot it all handheld, it's quicker, which is a mistake. It's not quicker, it's a technique. If you keep the camera completely locked off and have everything in the frame, that's quicker than shooting handheld.
Yeah.
All right, so there's lots of different approaches and to be efficient. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to try and cut down the amount of panning and tilting that we did, because that tends to give the audience something to look around in the frame. If you're moving the camera's perspective all of the time, the audience is going to get disorientated. Absolutely. And I wanted them to have a sense of space and to be able to look around. So that's why the decision to go widescreen was came into my head. Okay. There were 2 or 3 other reasons why that was a good idea. But I wanted to resist that urge to center cut the image in 16:9 and follow someone around. I wanted to have, rather than a one person in frame at the same time in close up, 2. Now, the way in which I think about aspect ratio with regards to these things is how many medium close ups can you cram in? And in 4:3, you get 1 medium close up in. Yeah. There's no room. In 16:9, you get 1.5 to 2. Okay. And in 2:3:9, you get 2 or 3. 3-ish. So if you're doing a dinner party scene and you're in medium close-up world and you've got a bit of layering, I don't have to pan the camera around too much. I can pull 3 medium close-ups. Whereas in 16:9, I've got to pan to keep the medium close-ups working, and your medium close-ups are your meat and potato. Yeah, that's a medium close-up to the mid. That's where you live, right? Yeah. And you're punctuating with the close-ups, and you're punctuating with the wides, but you live there. Yeah, that's in a drama. That's where you are. Absolutely. So 16:9 wasn't a good choice. 2.39 to 1 was the better choice. That was in my head. All of these things, when you're discussing with the director, the reasons why you make these suggestions don't necessarily come out of your mouth. Oh, okay. All right. All right. Sometimes you're saying things to mask your real intention because it's expedient. That makes sense. And you're trying to be helpful, but you're not being 100% truthful. Right. Well, and personalities, obviously, especially in Hollywood, come into play, right? Yeah. And so you know pretty quickly, I've been around a lot of directors as well, like very quickly how that temperament's going to impact, and they may have prejudice, as you said before, of wanting a certain, format or whatever. Yeah. And but especially with Coherence, when you have a limited budget now, limited time, you're going to have to, I'm sure I think of it as sort of positive manipulation. I mean, you're trying to get your job as effective as possible. And knowing that working with other humans and trying to, get where you need to be,
sometimes takes a little bit of string pulling.
Yeah, and the other part of the equation is in improvised environments, you don't want to be cutting too much. Because if improvisation works well, it works well on screen in ensemble. All right, you get great reactions. You get it plays out better. It's like the cliches about comedy, right?
Yeah.
Comedy in close-ups just doesn't work. Comedy in 2 and 3 shots, that's where you live. You need the person doing the action. You need the reaction, and you identify with the person who's the fall guy.
Right.
That's kind of the dynamic. And in improvised situations, being wider and seeing a lot in the frame lends itself to widescreen. And of course, widescreen is one of those formats that people fall back on with landscapes.
Right.
I'm thinking about other things. I'm thinking about how the camera moves, what's on the edges of frame, how can we use it, and also what kind of movement in the camera does that give you, which is less often.
Right.
You can actually have it play out in a static. You can make it move, but the kind of movement is different than the kind of movement you would have in 4:3, which you need to search between people. Otherwise, you don't see anything.
That makes sense, yeah.
There was another reason we had 4:3, because I had to hide the lights.
Oh, okay.
And they had to go somewhere.
Oh, so they're just out of frame?
They're out of frame.
Yeah.
The entire lighting budget was $150 spent at IKEA.
Oh, my God.
Didn't have any traditional lights at all. I wired up a bunch of bulbs, which were on dimmers, that were under the table so I could control them. It was all plugged into house power. It was all Chinese lanterns and fixtures that we bought from IKEA.
Oh, my God. That's amazing.
So I didn't have a gaffer. I just did it all myself.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions because, again, it looks beautiful because it gives that environment that you are at a dinner party.
I appreciate the fact it looks beautiful. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Making people look beautiful is easy. Easy.
Yeah.
Right. I shot Victoria's Secret for a bunch of time. Right. It's hard to fuck that up. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, these are beautiful women.
Right.
That that know how to react to the camera.
Sure.
They understand visual communication with regards to the cues they got to deliver.
Of course.
And all I got to do is follow a very, very simple, tried and tested lighting approach, and I'm there.
But again, it did look beautiful. But again, it's not even really the point. But what it was effective, and I think that that's
more important to me.
You had a lot of depth, and even if you had like a shallower depth of field, but you had depth in the scene. So you had practicals out in the background that matching the same color tone, and everything to me just felt like I was sat at this table with my friends and experienced like I was experiencing this with them, and I thought that was such an effective way, especially for this kind of a story.
Yeah.
Right, because you just get thrown in. And you like the movie opens and you're on a conversation in a car, and then you walk into the house and it's just everybody's talking, and it just has so much energy that you really do feel that you are there. And the camera movements, I think, also are very careful in the beginning that it's not disorienting. Yet you have a lot of disorienting almost dialogue because you have so many people coming in. It's just like any dinner party. People are pouring in, everybody's saying hi to each other, multiple conversations happening at the same time. But I noticed as the film went on and things started to unravel a little bit, I think you did switch to a little bit more of a handheld. There was a little bit more of a frenetic sort of energy to the camera, starting to mimic exactly what we were experiencing as viewers or what the actors were as the characters.
I think that because I was operating as well, I operated one of the cameras.
Okay.
Which I always like to do. I think that at any project I'm doing, I think this is like Roger Deakins follows the same approach. Lebetsky follows the same approach as well. That being behind the camera and guiding the framing of the key camera is an important part of understanding how the cinematography works. I nicked Roger Deakins' approach of using a power pod or a remote head on the dolly with the camera on it. He likes to have the camera on a remote head sit on the wheels beside the director, and I like just to talk to the director while the shot's happening. On Coherence, I couldn't do that.
Right, of course.
But on other, I did this on a feature that I did when I first come to LA. I want to be able to hear the director kind of go, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, what can we do to fix it? Like, what do we come wider? Do we go closer? Do we change angle? If you're not buying it, if you're not buying the drama, then we can fix that with a different approach and see how that works and might give you a better feel. Okay. Like if you make someone feel anxious, and they're not looking anxious enough, going in on a wider lens might give the audience a little bit of a bump in terms of a flag of information that says, okay, this is anxiety inducing. So I'm kind of very in tune when I'm working with a director to listen to their kind of emotional state change.
Okay.
And my constant line is, are you buying it? Are you buying this?
Right.
Like, is this, are we selling it? Like,
Right.
is the audience going to buy it? Like, you know, and if it when it works, it's absolutely clear.
Right.
And in Coherence, where we didn't have that luxury because Jim was also operating a camera. If I did this kind of approach again, I would go about it, and I learned a lot of lessons, as you do. And I would go about it in a slightly different way. Yeah, we didn't have that luxury of being able. It was a lot of it was flying by the seat of our pants, basically.
It sounds like it. And we tried not to talk about it too much before we got here today. But one thing that you said is that you even at times had two groups of actors doing scenes simultaneously in different rooms.
It was like the same period of time in two different places, so there were people in the kitchen talking and people in the living room talking, and they were separated out so they could be intercut.
Okay.
And I think with that approach, if I was to do it again, I would really push that, and I would have more cameras and a greater ability to overlap the action.
I see.
Then in the edit, you've got control over the pacing of those two things, but you have the moment where it comes together.
Got it. Okay.
So, and it's very efficient. A nightmare for a director,
Right.
but heaven for an actor.
Okay.
Because you're saying, okay, you're in control of this.
Right.
And in fact, when we're doing Coherence, I tried as best I can. I didn't have as much time as I wanted to, but I tried as best I can to educate the actors as to where they would be in close-up or medium close-up by their distance to the camera.
Oh.
And have them use their body movement to change shot size. Like if I'm going to be close to someone and they're going to look over their shoulder at somebody else, they're going to turn into close-up. And I want them to understand that they've got that as emphasis.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So their framing of the shot is in cohort with the actor that you're working with. And I found that actors like that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You're not saying to them, stand here, look this way.
Right.
You're saying, if you want to throw emphasis at any point, look this way, and I'll be close enough that you'll turn into close up.
I love that.
And you're in control of that. Like that's a beat that you put on. I'll be ready for it, but I want to keep that open. That's a tool that you've got.
Oh, it's really nice. And you're giving them some agency in that scene as
Absolutely.
well, which is nice, yeah.
Because it's like, as a cinematographer, when you're operating, the relationship that the operators have with actors on set is a very tight one. They're working together to make sure the framing works, the focus is right, that the timings are right, and you get that anyway. But when you're improvising, you can take it a step further and say, okay, I'm going to cede more control of shot construction to you if we are working together to the same set of parameters.
Oh, very cool.
So that works because when that timing works, and people can look at it and go, oh, the operator did a really good job, and I don't care. Like it's the story carried.
Right.
If it's the actor that's initiating it, then that's fine.
Yeah, I like that. So there were some night shots. This night sequence where you actually left the house, you went outside.
Yeah.
What I found interesting, a couple times it looked like there was almost like no light.
There was no light.
Oh, okay. So you didn't. It looked like maybe at one time you had like a practical because the people were walking by. Maybe you had something on the ground or something. But mostly there wasn't light, and I found that really interesting because
I wanted to get light outside.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
I wanted to put like a helium balloon up and bounce some light off it, so there was a base light in the street, but it just wasn't possible to do that.
Well, so what's interesting to me about that is that the film had some noise because you didn't have light, and that's something that so many people try to avoid, right? Again, it seemed like everything just kind of clicked for this movie because when you go outside and you've got that noise and the people aren't lit as well as we would normally do if you had a full budget. But actually, I think again it just added to this realism, this kind of verisimilitude of being. Like it was almost documentary style, right? Like this felt like it was being captured. This event actually happened. And so when it's not perfect like that, it actually, especially for an indie film, I think really worked, and it's something that I know so many people try to avoid. It's like, oh, you can't have any noise, you didn't do it, you didn't shoot it right, you didn't expose right. But so I was wondering if like how intentional that was, or just a fact that you didn't have the lights. And
there's a couple of I find stuff that's shot at night a little bit. I've been conflicted about this for a long time. There are certain movies where you look at it and it's supposed to be at night and it's lit up like a Christmas tree.
Right,
there is a huge lamp off at a distance and there's these sharp shadows all over the ground, and it looks great, and there's a lot of smoke and it's all blue, and you're in John Wick territory. And I look at that and I go, yeah, that looks cool. Right. It looks completely unrealistic.
Right.
Looks totally cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's other stuff. There was a thing that Chris Doyle shot years ago, which was kind of in the outback of Australia, and it looked like it was under moonlight, but you couldn't see people's faces, but you could see their silhouettes moving around because you knew the shapes of these people, you knew who they were.
Okay.
And it was just beautiful. It was like I really felt as though he got the whole idea of night right, because you could see what was going on without seeing the detail that you would see during the day. And it was I mean, Chris Doyle is a complicated human being, but there are very few cinematographers that have risen to that level of control and technique in their careers.
Wow.
I mean, his work, I think, is unbelievable. I would put him like on par with Deakins with regards to effect on me in their work.
Sure.
It's just, and it's not because his cinematography is good. It's the storytelling and his attention to texture and how that reflects in the narrative. It's very sympathetic to the story.
Interesting.
I think he really nails that. But where he does, so when we're going to do the night sequences, that you either have a lot of control or you have none, and I just gave up and I just said we'll just make it work the best we can.
Yeah, well, and it did.
Kind of. I mean, like, also we've got 5D, so we've got very, very high EI. We can test that out. I did this thing years ago for Victoria's Secret again, and we were shooting in this estuary, and we had this plankton in the water that they wanted to shoot. I ended up shooting at something like, I think 1,500. Or more than that, 150,000 EI, whatever the fastest was.
Right.
And we didn't use the footage in the end because it just didn't make any sense. You were looking at something with such a high EI that no one could relate that to reality. And it looked great, but weird.
Right.
And
that makes sense.
And the girls didn't look great because it was too weird looking.
Right.
So how you use technology, it's a tricky one because we've all got an idea about what it looks like to be in the dark. I'd like dark scenes where there's a sense of confusion about what's going on because that's how I feel in the dark. But I still love the John Wick approach of
Sure. I mean, for the right project, it looks, as you say, it looks cool. And that's
Dan
fun.
Louston is an amazing cinematographer.
Right.
Just so stylish.
Yeah. Very cool. This is just a little note, but I don't know if you'll remember this, but and this was actually outside when Im and Kevin. She was in her car getting the ring, and then she gets out, and her boyfriend, Kevin, I forgot the actor's name, it comes up to her, and there's this, they hug, and, everybody's they're unsettled at this point because it's gotten weird. And she shows him the ring, and it's clear he has no idea what this ring is. And they both realize in that moment that they're not the right couple, they're not the right match. So it's a parallel. I don't know, that's a spoiler. Might have to cut that out. But they have this moment when they realize they're not the right people.
Yeah.
And she backs up, and we lose focus a couple times. And it almost feels accidental, but I felt like it was very intentional because...
Does it matter?
It doesn't matter, but it was so effective in that moment because you're feeling exactly how they're feeling. You're like that, oh shit, this is like, I'm in trouble here. And that kind of warping of your reality, and then the fact that went just out of focus. Again, these are things I feel like most people are working hard to not do, and yet just a simple out of focus into focus was so effective in that moment.
Oh man, the cinematography is crammed with those happy accidents. I remember shooting a job once, and the director says, "I want to shoot high speed." So we shot high speed in this bathroom, all right?
Okay.
And it's fluorescent lights were all on different circuits, and they're all pulsing, and they're different colors.
Yeah.
And when we got the dailies back, I was like, "Oh crap, I forgot about the." And he's like, what are you talking about? This is amazing.
Oh, wow.
This is like trippy as hell.
Yeah,
and we looked at it and went, yeah, let's pump it. Let's get the contrast going a little bit more, so it's like more of a pronounced effect. And then you think, let's do it again tomorrow, but somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so it kind of, you roll with that thing. Like when you're shooting something and something goes out of focus and you think, hang on a tick, don't pull that way, pull the other way. It's like, she's going back, pull the minimum.
Oh, yeah.
And then bounce back. So rather than trying to follow focus, we're doing the opposite. We're creating a wall that they punch through, focus-wise.
That's cool.
Is that going to be... A lot of that stuff is, you're... one of the things about being a cinematographer is you make a spectacular plan about what you're going to do.
Right.
And you're totally in control. And then you throw it out the window.
Right.
Because when the actors turn up, bets are off.
Right.
They wander in and go, oh, wow, it's beautiful by the window. And you think, well, we prepped for the other side of the room. Right. And then they walk over and sit in the window and you go, shit.
That is beautiful.
And the director looked at it and goes, what do you think? I said, hey, look, it looks fucking great.
Yeah.
Can you use it? He said, yeah, it's way better.
Yeah.
So you say to the first AD, hey, we're shooting over there. Well, what? I got the craft service over there. You got to move the craft service.
Sorry.
I mean, we're lit in 2 minutes because it's like, it looks great. And we've got like 3 hours of this sun and we'll get out quick, but you got to shift the craft service. So there's that kind of evolving thing. And if you've got, a good dynamic between actor, director, DP, where, where the happy accident occurs, that you capture that moment with Coherence. That was one of the most important parts of the job. It's like you have to embrace the happy accident. If something's happening, you can't go, oh wow, that's great, let's go again, because the camera's going to roll. Right, we're just going to keep on going. Right, it's like standing in front of a truck at that point. Right, it isn't going to slow down. Right. Occasionally, Jim would say, hey, let's go back like 30 seconds, and we'd reset and go back, but it wasn't a lot of that going on.
Interesting.
It was plowing ahead, and then we can approach it on the next pass. We could approach it slightly differently or catch that moment differently. Yeah. But it was about keeping the juggernaut going. So it's thinking on your feet. And it was exhausting as well. That was the other part. So
I mean, always making a film, it's so exhausting. You're absolutely just wrecked by the end. But I do think you touched on something that I absolutely love. Those happy accidents and the ability when you're making a film, it's so fun to find these things that you didn't, because there's so much planning that goes into it. But then when you get on set that day and you discover these things, or you're limited by something and you have to pivot, I think it's incredibly important for filmmakers to continue to be light on your feet, right? You have to be adaptable, and you can't be as rigid to your first vision of whatever that first vision was, what you thought it was going to be when you show up on set. And I was guilty of that in my early short films, where I was like, I've planned out everything, and then you get to set, and I can't do this, but now, how am I going to do this? But to me now, I love that. I'm like, it's this or something better, and often you find the better when you're on set.
The way in which directors approach projects depends upon the kind of project, their personality, and the people they're dealing with. There are directors I work with, like Ridley Scott, for example, is very prescribed, and he understands his angles, he understands the shots he wants, he just sticks to the program, and the variations that happen with how he works are largely based upon what goes on with performance. Other directors work in a much more different way, like the Mike Lees of this world are very kind of engaged in the old idea that performance is everything, and the camera is very secondary, and I don't really like that approach. I think that's too far. What I like is people who have got a very firm aesthetic plan, and it lasts throughout the project, and they roll with the punches. And you do have the opportunity then for happy accidents and things to evolve. Right. And you're not going to be boxed into a corner. But the way in which a little experiment I do with my film students every now and then is I give them a script. Make them work on it for 2 days in teams of 2, and then the night before I give them a brand new script, so they've got to work overnight to finish it, and when they turn up in the morning I give them another script and then 2 different actors. And that's such and it freaks them out, all right? And they say, how can you expect us to be any good? I said, if you don't like this, you won't like filmmaking.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you're good at this and you're like, I'm going to make this work, screw you. I'm going to make this work.
Yes.
I'm going to make this work through force of will.
Yes.
And understanding the people around me and make everyone work as a team. If you can do that, you're on a road to having a good career. If this freaks you out to have this level of change, you are going to hit roadblocks in your career with regards to your ability to stand in front of a crew and say, hey guys, it's raining.
Right.
It's amazing.
Right.
All right. It's going to look great.
Yeah.
We're going to backlight the rain and we're going to go. And an hour later, when the rain's gone, you're going to get a hose out and you're going to make rain and you're going to keep on going and you're going to get through. And you get to the other side and people are going to look at you and go, you know what? That's leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really good. That is, honestly, that's really good training for filmmaking right there. Yeah. Smart.
I think you should be thrown. I think the importance of a plan is paramount. Mm-hmm. The execution of the plan has got to be backed up with your ability to pivot heavily and kill your babies.
No, sadly, but yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Poor babies. I want to get back to a little bit of since you operated one of the cameras, when you make the choice to be locked off or when you make the choice to go handheld, again, everything felt very motivated and coherence. So when things started getting really weird and freaky for the characters, I did notice that the camera started, we started panning more. We started going handheld. I don't think there were any like zooms, but it felt there was a lot more energy.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you're not running Steadicam if you're have a small budget.
No, I did add a little extra thing to the camera, which was I put a monopod on the camera. Not that I was using it very much, but one of the issues with any camera is that your panning motion and your tilting motion. If you keep that relatively pure, you have a form of movement that people recognize as a certain kind of filmmaking.
Right.
If you're doing this a lot, that roll movement, that changes the character of the cinematography. So I decided that in order to limit that, I just put a monopod on the bottom of the camera and held the monopod and the camera at the same time. So it resisted the urge to do that. In fact, it's actually very difficult to do that.
Okay.
The camera tends to stabilize on what we call the Z-axis. So X is you pan, Y is you tilt, Z is the roll.
Got it.
As you would have on like a remote head. And by limiting down the Z-axis, it changes the character of the cinematography. So if I'm doing a shot of two people and I've got the monopod vertical and I'm trying to maintain it vertical, all of the verticals in the room are also vertical. Now, if I take the monopod off, it changes the character of the cinematography. And there were points when we were shooting that I tried to get Jim to use the monopod, but he took it off because he found it restricting, which was the point.
You're like, that's what I was going for.
That was the point, right? It just stops you, like it's a physical barrier. If I say to an operator, keep the horizon line level, they're going to do it, right? They don't need a monopod.
Right.
But if I'm using operators that are so in the moment that roll isn't that much of a consideration, I can do something simple and cheap to limit that.
Right.
So that was a little technique I threw in. And it was mainly to keep the audience in a headspace that they weren't being disorientated. If you're throwing roll in as well as pan and tilt, disorientation comes up pretty high pretty quickly.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And you already had so much energy in these scenes anyway. You didn't really need it. And I don't remember there being any kind of Dutch thing happening in the film, but
we try to keep that down to a minimum. But also, the monopods I had were quick release, so I could just drop. I could drop the foot on the floor.
Yeah.
So I could stabilize and get like a nice locked off shot, and then I could just collapse it back up and walk around and reframe. And
that's very cool.
So it's and again, these are techniques that I've used on other projects where you're looking for effective ways of doing things, and a lot of that comes out of being in situations where things have again gone wrong. I did this suntan commercial in the Seychelles, and all of our equipment, other than the equipment we took with us on the hold of the plane, got impounded because the authorities wanted money in order to release it.
Of course.
So all of our lights, nearly all of our lenses, we had one box of prime lenses, one magazine, and the camera body, and thankfully the film.
Right.
So I went to the hardware store. We built lights out of light bulbs that we put onto big silver boards. We painted them. We put them on the beach with reflectors that we made.
I love it.
And we delivered a perfectly fine commercial. We took all the equipment home afterwards, never used any of it.
That's incredible.
But I think in those circumstances, part of your job as the DP is not to say, that's it, it's over, we can't do anything. It's like, okay, let's just got to keep going.
No, you just got to keep going. Yeah, you got to roll with it.
Yeah, and sometimes it will pay off. Right. In the context of coherence, like the decision to not use traditional lighting was because there's just literally no money for it, and I would happier that the food quality was better for everybody than I was spending money on a lighting team.
You know, for indie film, and I hope you're all listening. Where's the camera? I hope you're all listening to that because it's super important. Because I think. Again, that so many people, and maybe I'm just talking about something I'm always fighting internally of I need to have the best gear, I need to have the best lights, but no, what you need to have is a really good story, and you need to have people who know what they're doing, or you have to figure it out, and taking care of your people is extremely important.
Yeah. An army marches on its stomach, people.
It's so true.
It marches on its stomach. You get that wrong, you get the food wrong, it's the only time you'll see a mutiny.
Oh, it's absolutely true. Yeah. You always have to do well on crafty.
Do never order Domino's. It's the worst thing you can do.
That's so true. That is so true.
It's like you're doing the least possible level of care to tick a box. You know, my favorite moments on film shoots is like being in miserable situations. I was on this job in Italy, and it was just at the end of the day, it was raining. The trucks was stuck in mud. Oh, no. It was just horrendous. And we got everything on the roadside, and the producer had run off to the local town and had bought a pot and a cooking stove and had made this beautiful meal. And we sat there with wine and bread and a hot meal in almost silence, thinking, that guy's a great guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we were so exhausted.
I bet.
All we wanted to do was eat and go.
And you know, when you care for your people, everybody realizes it.
But you can see the major heart involved in actually just doing that.
Exactly.
And it, just like that, a producer who does that or shows that kind of care, it has a massive influence on the crew. It's like it's an age-old thing. But you know, if you feed people and show them hospitality, it's a basic human sign of respect. 100%. And you shouldn't forget that on a film shoot ever.
Definitely agree. Yeah. Before I want to like cap it off, getting back to sort of this indie filmmaking, because again, I'm really hoping that this inspires people to realize that they have house lights. You know, we all have cameras. You can shoot things with your iPhone, and you can make incredible film. Before we kind of close with that, is there anything else from Coherence that you took as a lesson? I know you said recently, just a couple of minutes ago, that if you looked at it now, there are things you might do differently. But
I have a regret. Like at the same time, I was trying to help a friend deliver a music video project that was incredibly under budgeted, but was overly ambitious, and it wasn't a great success.
Okay.
And I spent a lot of time at that time in my life trying to make sure this job was a success. Eventually, it came to light that the person I was working with I was basically there to help them. I wasn't really helping myself by helping them.
Oh, I see.
I kind of regret doing that project. I should have put all of my efforts into Coherence and kind of just thought about that exclusively. Not that I think it changed how I did it, but when I look back, I think that was my one regret about trying to take two bites of two different apples at the same time.
Sure,
I regret that slightly, but yeah. In terms of what I learned, I think that I've learned something from every single job that I've done.
Yeah,
I work entirely collaboratively in my career. So my career spans, I invented something called Artemis Director's Viewfinder, which you're familiar with.
Yes, absolutely.
And in order to make that work, I got to have a team. So I've got people who collaborate with me on design as well as coding. We're in a big phase at the moment, redesigning that application and creating some new tools for filmmakers.
Wow. That's cool.
So, and in my stills career, my stills work is with a woman called Julia Sandberg-Hansen. We work very closely. In fact, our working relationship, which is 15 years old, we have never had one argument or disagreement about anything. Because our ambition is to make something that works. And we're not mated to any particular part of it.
Right.
It's just got to work. And it's been very successful as a consequence of that approach. But I'm learning something new every time I do things.
Of course.
adapting. And what I try, if there's a kind of a closing quote, I did an interview years ago with Adam Ant. Remember Adam Ant?
Yeah, of course.
And he was a bit broken by the time he got to this interview. but he said this thing that just stuck in my craw, and I still think about it. He said that as an artist, it's absolutely necessary to imitate other people. He said, but it's enormously pathetic to imitate yourself.
Oh,
So
wow.
if you, in your career, if you find yourself doing things the same way and imitating yourself because it's easy, you need to evaluate.
Wow.
You've either lost your spark and lost your interest. If you're looking at other people, young people, crazy people, people from different cultures, and ripping them off and shoving it into your work so it evolves, they will look at you and do the same. That's what art is.
Yeah.
Art is a community experience of expression that refers to everything else in the pile.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, if you start just looking at yourself and feeding into your own echo chamber, you start to become a parody of yourself. And sadly, a lot of cinematographers and directors are guilty of that. I mean, I know it's probably unfashionable to say, but I think that Christopher Nolan is extremely guilty of that. I'm getting fatigued with his particular approach. I think he's visiting themes with regards to his ability and desire to confuse his audience that I think are I just don't understand it anymore.
Right.
But it becomes so self-referential, and I understand that within the style of a director or a cinematographer, that's important. But I'm more interested in people like Roger Deakins, because there's something about Roger's work that he just keeps on moving the needle.
Yeah.
It's moving forward the whole time.
Totally
I've
agree.
got huge respect for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Lebetsky as well. There's another great example of someone who's, and Christopher and Chris Doyle.
Yeah.
And these people, I think that you look at their work and you think, oh God, it's really shifted over time. It's really moving a direction.
Very cool.
But that's one of my core values as someone who's involved in the creative world.
Well, I love that, and it's a very good reminder that filmmaking is the most collaborative storytelling. I mean, you can't make a film by yourself.
No.
And
you can try.
You could try. I mean, maybe somebody's going to go out there and do it. But but the point is, if you're doing any sort of a production, it is multiple people. You have to have your vision, but you should, in my opinion, be open to working with people, hearing ideas, and again, collaboration is just going to make it better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, this has been absolutely amazing. I think we're spot on. Appreciate you so much for coming by and sharing these stories.
I had a great time. We should do it again.
Yeah, definitely. We should. Maybe we will.
Yeah, maybe.
And for everybody out there, I hope you find this as inspiration to start getting out there and making your own stuff, because that is the point of us as MD filmmakers. We want to hear your stories. And now there's no barrier to entry. Grab your phone and get out there and make stuff.
I agree.
Thanks, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
All right.